Hey, good people, David Taub here with NextLevelGuitar.com. We are here at Anaheim NAMM 2020, and we are with amp legend builder Mike Soldano at the Soldano booth. Mike, I want to thank you so much for making some time for us in your busy schedule, and it's such a pleasure to be with you here today again this year.
Thanks, yeah, it's my pleasure, and we talked last year, so go ahead and hit me with some questions and I'll give you an update of where I've been in the last year.
Yeah, last year we did some videos on, you were at a very, your journey as far as an amp builder and your personal journey changed a little bit because, and you correct me if I get some of the time frame wrong, but I believe what happened is you decided to shut down your amp shop in Seattle.
Correct.
And you wanted to get away from a lot of the day-to-day business.
Exactly.
And you wanted to concentrate more on the creative aspect, the building. You had a lot of ideas, and you wanted to find a company to keep the brand in a way that you wanted, but will still allow you the flexibility to do that. Did I sum that up pretty good?
That's 100% correct. You nailed it. But that's exactly right. Yes, I had been wearing every hat that a business owner has. I was doing payroll. I was doing, workman's comp. I was paying state tax. All the stuff. And it was really taking the fun out of what I do. And what I really love doing is designing and creating product. So when I teamed up with Boutique Amps, it was the perfect match because they've got all those systems already in place. And so all I have to do is spend my time doing the part I love best, and then they do all the heavy lifting. And so in that last year, since you saw me, we have developed a brand new version of the 100-watt Super Lead Overdrive, which has been my flagship amp forever. And we also have a brand new SLO30. We've got a new line of cabinets, and I got to tell you, this product is stellar. It's as if I was still putting my hands into it, and they're really incredible products.
Awesome, and we're so happy for you because it was a time for a change. You were telling me last year you were like ready for it, and you just wanted to find the right way to carry. You didn't want that brand to die that you worked your whole life for, right?
That's right. I'd spent 35 years building my brand, and I'd been in business as Soldano Custom Amplification for last year it would have been 32 years. And so I didn't want to just chuck all that stuff out the door, But at the same time, I just couldn't slog out that day-to-day grind anymore. So I'd been talking to Boutique Amps, and we didn't really have a full-on game plan, but we knew that we wanted to keep the legacy products for sure, and then expand on that. And so rather than just kind of keep making the same old thing I was making, we kind of took a year off, took the same amp, the SLO100, didn't change anything tonally, but just gave it a few little updates that it was definitely in need of over time. And we've come out with a new product that I'm thrilled with. We have
well, let's talk about the SLO100 specifically for a second, because in the last video we did with you, and it got an incredible reaction and so many views and likes, and everybody was commenting on how they wanted you to keep the SLO amp, the 100, and they were excited to hear when you decided to do the 30. So tell us what's new. Tell us about the SLO100. What's a little different, and just take us through it.
Okay, so it's still all the original Soldano mojo. Nothing has changed tonally, but there were a few things that I'd been wanting to change over time that I never really had gotten around to doing. And so one of them was I wanted to make the amp a little bit quieter when it's just sitting there with no signal going through it. High gain amps can tend to take even the most minor tube noise and really amplify it. And over the years, 12AX7 tubes have been declining a little bit in their quality, at least in their ability to reject noise. And so towards the end of my regular production, it got to be the point where I'd be spending an hour on every amp, hand selecting a couple of really quiet tubes for the first two positions in every SLO I built. And that got to be tedious. And what was even more tedious is for an end user, it was frustrating because they'd buy a brand new set of tubes throw it in their amp, and all of a sudden the amp would be noisier than it was before, because they didn't have the luxury of hand selecting from a whole box of tubes like I did. So the way to solve that problem is you just put DC current on the heaters instead of AC. So the brand new SLO has DC heaters. This amp is dead quiet. When there's no signal going through this thing, there is no sound coming out of the speakers. So that was job one. The second thing that needed addressing, and I actually chuckle about this now because for years, for 3 decades, I could never make everybody happy with my effects loops. You know, the rack mount guys loved it, the pedal guys hated it. I would do mods to make the pedal guys happy, then the rack guys would be, you know, like miffed by it. So we did a radical new effects loop in this. We moved it after the master volumes, which gave us a little more control over what the signal was we were sending to the effects.
It's still between the preamp and the power amp?
No, now it's not, it used to be between the tone controls. Now it's between the preamp and the power amp. And we lowered the nominal level so it'll actually work with pedals without overloading them. We put a level return control on the back of the amp, so now you can actually even fine tune the return level. And on the foot switch, we added a second button so that now you can kick the effects loop in and out via foot switch or with a manual switch on the back of the amp. So this has really added a lot of versatility to the amp. That it was already a really versatile amp, now it's a super versatile amp.
So it's like SLO 2.0 or SLO on steroids.
Yeah, it's SLO on steroids, exactly. And then the other changes were, for years we offered a mod called the depth mod, where we added an extra control that added more bass to the power section. It was such a popular mod that now it's standard equipment on all SLOs. We just decided enough people like this, let's just build it in. For those that don't need it, they turn it to 0, it's not in the circuit. We added a switch to the front of the amp to switch between channels without the foot switch. With all the earlier SLOs, if you lost the foot switch or didn't have it with you, the amp was automatically in the overdrive channel, which if you were in a studio, that could be frustrating because you don't want to have to worry about the foot switch. Now you can switch it manually on the amp. Other than that, it's got all the same tone, all the same dynamics, all the same paint peeling power it had of the original SLO, and the same classic styling. The other advantage now to being involved with Boutique is they have a much more sophisticated wood shop than I ever had at my old facility. So now we have more customizing options available. You can order the amp with the classic metal grill look that we've always had, but you can also now get fabric inserts for the front. We have many new grill cloth options. We still have all the colors like we used to have. So you can virtually customize your SLO to be anything you want it to be.
And the snakeskin, of course.
And of course the classic snakeskin, gotta have that. So that's the new SLO.
Hi again, Marisa here from Next Level Guitar. And if you would like a killer free video lead guitar lesson and a coinciding ebook, please click on the link below and we will send you them absolutely free from Next Level Guitar.
Tell me, Mike, a little bit about your new amp, the SLO30, which is brand new in the Soldano line.
Yes, that's right. We have a brand new amp, the SLO30. So because of the fact that the SLO100 is maybe a little too big for a lot of guys for the kind of places they play it in, or just even just for hauling it around, it's a bit heavier. We decided we want to do something smaller. And back in 2012, I came out with my Hot Rod 25, which was my 25th anniversary little amp that was aimed at that whole goal. But at that point, I was trying to make it really small, and I had to take out a few of the features that were on the SLO, like the clean crunch switch and the bright normal switch. And so rather than just bringing back the Hot Rod 25, since we had a year to develop a new product, we decided to make the chassis a little bit longer to accommodate the switches that the SLO always had, and to add the depth knobs so that we'd have the exact same feature set as the SLO100. And so that it became now what's the SLO30. It's a true 30-watt SLO100 with every single feature that an SLO100 has. You can now find that in the SLO30.
Same output tubes, same preamp tubes, just changed the number of them?
Yes, so now we have two 5881 power tubes instead of 4. We dropped the plate voltage a little bit. That got us into a nice sweet spot of 30 watts. Same preamp tubes, 512 AX7s, same Postmaster effects loop. It's a really awesome amp, and it just screams. It's a really rocking little unit.
So tell me a little bit about your love for the 5881 as opposed to some of the other tubes out there, because the 5881s have always been in the SLO. So tell me what you, as opposed to like the EL34 6L6s.
Right. Well, okay, so the 5881 is equivalent to a 6L6, and so my favorite tube always when I started designing was a 6L6. Back in the day, my favorite tube was made by Philips, Sylvania. They were American made, and they were a really ruggedized 6L6, but unfortunately, probably around 1989, the US military quit needing to have those tubes. They obsoleted all their equipment that used those, and they were Philips's largest customer. So they quit making the American-made 6L6. But fortunately, in Russia, they were manufacturing this really amazing 5881. Now the 5881 is an industrial version of a 6L6. It's more rugged, it's a little more beefy, it's thicker glass. And so a friend of mine got a hold of a set of those and sent them to me and said, you gotta try these new tubes. And I tried them, and I immediately found the perfect replacement for those American Philips tubes. And so I've been in love with those tubes ever since. And I'll tell you why I like them so much. They have a cleaner and tighter bottom end than a EL34 does. And I'm all about articulation and definition in a guitar amp. And for me, EL34 has always seemed a little bit fizzy, a little bit loose in the low end. And then on the other coin would maybe be like a 6550, which were a very efficient and very tight tube, but they were almost too tight to have any kind of warmth. So back in the day, like say this was in the mid 80s, I settled on the 6L6 as being my tube of choice, just for the overall musicality, the warmth, but still balanced with a good tightness and definition. And so to this day, I still feel that they're one of the most wonderful tubes on the planet. And in particular, the Sovtek 5881, because it's manufactured to very tight tolerances, and they're very consistent and reliable.
What other new products do you have? Do you have anything, the SLO100, the SLO30? What about like your pedal that you were messing with?
We're still working on a new version of the Supercharger GTO.
Supercharger, yes.
Yeah. Well, we're still working on that. We've added a second channel to it, so it's now going to be a 2-channel pedal. And we're also working on some small stomp box pedals that are going to be Soldano pedals, which are kind of based loosely on one's based on the normal channel, one's going to be based on the overdrive. And they're still in development, but we're really close to getting those out too.
There's going to be some new Soldano products and some pedals and a 2-channel version of the Supercharger coming out. Is this a year away, 2 years?
They were a year away, yeah. Yeah, maybe sooner, but I'm going to safely say a year. And then after that, there's going to be some other amps that are going to come out too, but we still haven't quite zeroed in on what that's going to be yet. I've got a lot of ideas in my head, and now that I have time to actually tinker with this stuff, I want to try some stuff out, and then we're probably going to zoom in on something and run with it.
And then besides your 2 flagship amps, you also have been doing some work with cabinets, right? Tell me about some of your cabinets.
Well, it's pretty much all the stuff we had before, but now we're building them with CNC routers and stuff, and we're getting a lot more consistency than we've ever had before, which is really cool. All of our cabinets are now loaded with Celestion Vintage 30s. It's probably arguably the most popular guitar speaker out there, and so we've decided that that's what people want, that's what we're going to give them. And it's a wonderful speaker, so everything now has Celestion Vintage 30s. We have a 412 straight, 412 slant. We have a 212 horizontal cabinet. We have also a 212 vertical slant cabinet. And we're offering them with all the various coverings that we've always offered, as well as various different grill cloth materials, including our new what we call Starfall, which is well, you'll see it when we show you the picture.
And the speakers, the V30s, do you like those because they obviously, I mean, they distort a lot quicker than like a 70-watt speaker. But do you just like those for that combination with the mojo in your heads?
Yeah, and to be honest with you, in the past, I didn't particularly like them because with the transformers we were using before in the SLO, there was kind of a noticeable upper mid-range sizzle that I never liked. And so to solve that, I had gone to the Eminence Legend 30. But when we were developing this new transformer for the new SLO, we solved that mid-range sizzle, and now the Vintage 30s are awesome. And I like the Vintage 30 because its overall tone coloring is really it's a nice guitar speaker.
Tell me just briefly what it's like for you as a designer and as a creator to not have to worry about all the day-to-day stuff and just concentrate on all of the creative kind of stuff on the back end.
It's awesome. I mean, I couldn't be happier. It's just, it gives me freedom to do the stuff that made starting this whole business the fun part. You know, the fun was always the development. Running a business was never fun. So it's the most liberating and freeing thing ever. And what's even better is I have 150% trust in the guys that are now managing the brand and doing the assembly and the construction. Boutique has years of experience. They've proved themselves with the Friedman amps, and now I'm just happy to have them building my brand. It's really been awesome.
Any closing thoughts or anything else you want to mention about any of your other products or ideas or things you're working on?
Well, I just like to say I'm back better than ever and with renewed energy because I'm not being drugged down by my old duties, and so Soldano's here to stay.
That's great news, and your fans and lover of Soldano amps are going to be so glad to hear and so excited about the new products you have coming out. I want to thank you again for your time. You've always been so gracious.
Oh, thank you.
And we really appreciate it. We wish you the best. And this is David Taub coming to you from Next Level Guitar at NAMM Anaheim 2020. Mike Soldano, we're at the Boutique Amps booth, and we will see you next time.
You will. I'll see you next year.
Hi again, Marisa here from Next Level Guitar. Please check out our video instructional website. There are over 2,500 video lessons for all level players and all musical genres. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel and give this video a thumbs up. That really helps keep the content coming.